Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Elizabeth here from Naturally Wells. Thanks again for joining me. So I have done flush number 74 and I thought I'd give you a quick update and tell you a bit more about what I'm eating now. So flush number 74, I was pretty apprehensive going into this because as some of you will know, I've had a very difficult journey with liver flushing, and although I know it's been the best protocol that I've ever done, in some sense it's also been the most difficult because I've had lots of non-productive flushes because my liver is so congested, and I've had decades of gut overgrowth problems and candida, which I believe creates extra stones, and also creates conditions for parasites and biofilm, which can block the liver ducts. So I have had lots of non-productive flushes where nothing has been released at all, and this has meant that I've done sometimes 4 or even 5 flushes, a sequence of 5 flushes where no stones have come out, and I've just got more and more congested as stones have been pushed further down the bile duct and blocked any fresh bile coming through but haven't exited, and that has resulted in worsening fatigue and hormonal problems and mental health problems. So frequently in my 5-year flushing journey I've had to take time out to just to stop. I think the longest I ever stopped was maybe 6 months or 9 months or something. I was just too terrified to do it anymore. I don't think that this is necessarily a common occurrence. I think it's probably for people who've been ill for a really long time, who've got really bad liver problems. I think it's not representative by any means. I only know a few people who've had sort of similar experiences to me. The majority of people may occasionally get 1 or 2 unproductive flushes, but generally speaking their progress is a lot more smooth and quicker, and they can release more in fewer flushes, whereas I've done 74 flushes and I'm still nowhere near finished. How do I know I'm not finished? Because I still have lots of symptoms, and although I feel great after a flush, within a few days my symptoms return. However, I have overcome an awful lot. As I think I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm now a lot busier, fitter, happier than I was a few years ago. I don't have the same kind of crushing physical fatigue and sort of crashes that I used to have, with sort of just blood sugar dropping, having to lie down, being really, really tired and exhausted but not being able to sleep, short-tempered, horrendous PMT, being quite snappy and irritable and not really being very patient with people, just feeling really strung out, that kind of classic feeling of wired and tired at the same time. And obviously with a history of chronic fatigue, which I had from the age of 30, climbing out of that gradually, but I would say the past year really feel like I've turned more of a corner. So yes, flush number 74, I went into it feeling quite apprehensive, didn't want to go backwards, didn't want a failed one, but thankfully everything went well. Didn't feel too bad in the night. I actually fell asleep really quickly, and woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning feeling quite nauseated, but went to the loo and came back to bed and managed to get back to sleep, and then this morning felt pretty good. So I've had quite a few stones, some of the really big ones, one really big one that perhaps I would say measured kind of like a sort of toenail size, really big, which was very satisfying to see. So if you do liver flushes, you probably know the satisfaction of seeing the fruits of your labour the next day. I did the classic Moritz protocol, but I also take make my own herbal bitters, which I take daily, So that's always something I take, which helps kind of loosen up the congestion. I take malic acid. I sometimes take Stonebreaker, Chanca tea, which I make myself. I also made sure that I had a jog or did some yoga in the days running up to the flush. What else did I do? That was probably it. But the most interesting thing is the last few weeks, actually last maybe 3 months, I've been on a special diet. So I've done lots of diets in the past, everything from vegan, which I think I only survived 3 days on, to carnivore, which I survived 6 months, and that was just miserable 6 months. But I was reading about the protocol developed by Karen Hurd. I'll put the details down below, who developed the bean protocol. And basically she discovered that bean fibre, soluble fibre, is just brilliant for binding toxins in the fat and the cholesterol that people store inside their liver. Particularly, it's like a brush. Obviously, you've probably heard of this before, it might not be new to you. So for instance, you know, one of the things that the mainstream doctors talk about a lot if you have high cholesterol is eating oats, another soluble fibre, and it just works to sort of bind that fat and carry it out of the bowel rather than ending up being recirculated into the liver again. So I decided I would try that. So I was following that for 3 months. And it was hard at first, but actually my body now really likes it. It's quite a low fat diet. And the idea is you have to keep fat quite low because you want the bean fibre, the soluble fibre, to bind with the fat inside your liver, inside your body, rather than the fat in your food. You can eat fat, you don't have to go without fat, but you eat your fat meals away from the beans. If you can't tolerate beans, you can try psyllium husk. So that's an alternative, but you have to be quite careful having too much psyllium husk because it can bind to nutrients as well. So it can absorb more than just fat, I believe. So you can create a nutrient deficiency if you rely on psyllium husk fibre too much. Other types of fibre I'm sure are helpful, but if you have a sensitive gut, then insoluble fibre from cereal grains is probably not ideal. So I thought you might like to know what I now eat. So I'm still on a fairly clean diet. I haven't eaten gluten for decades, but I do now notice that if I do eat gluten, it's okay. It doesn't have a severe effect on me, whereas perhaps 2 or 3 years ago it would make me ache really badly. And I don't get that anymore. So, but I don't eat much of it. I just eat it like occasionally, like I could eat like some bread or whatever if we're out at a restaurant. That's fine. I don't eat any dairy, and I haven't done for a really long time. I just find that quite a sort of cold food and quite a stagnant, so it can cause stagnation, particularly for the lymph, and I think it has a tendency to lead to colds and sort of nasal congestion and respiratory congestion. So I avoid dairy. And the other thing with the Karen Hurd diet is that you avoid a lot of cooked fats, so particularly cooked sort of processed vegetable oils, processed seed oils. And actually I noticed that now if I eat heated vegetable oils from like fried foods, it actually can make me feel quite ill. So I'm sure it always did make me ill, but it's just that I didn't really notice it because I hadn't eliminated it from my diet. So yeah, that's quite interesting. I can't eat kind of heavy fatty meals at the moment, and I also don't really like eating food like that anymore. So although it was an adjustment at first, because I was the kind of person who used to just put, you know, olive oil over everything, and coconut oil, and probably had quite a high fat diet at one stage. So anyway, I want to wrap this up. I don't want to go much over 10 minutes. So what do I have? What kind of things can you have if you are on the bean diet? So one of my favorites is this red lentil fusilli. And this is just pure red lentils. And you just cook that like normal pasta. And I have that for breakfast, and I'll have that with some tuna in kind of herbs and lemon, which is really nice, or I will have it with some low-fat chicken sausages. So that's breakfast. Lunch is my normal lunch, which I've always had, which is a gluten-free roll with avocado, hummus, a bit of salad, a couple of slices of beef. And then dinner will be something like meat or fish with vegetables, rice. I might make some more lentil pasta, or I will just put a tin of legumes. So we're eating lots and lots of legumes at the moment. All sorts of legumes work. Lentils, black beans, cannellini, haricot, you know, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Chickpeas, any beans. Karen Hurd recommends 3 to 6 servings of beans a day. So it's kind of how you want to work that into your diet. But I find working into meals is slightly easier than having it in between meals. You can have beans in between meals. Also, you can be inventive with snacks. So if you can find things like roasted chickpeas, which some companies make, that's quite a good one. Between meals, if I'm hungry, I will have some fruit. So I'm really enjoying mandarins at the moment, kiwis, apples, bananas, and if I fancy something a bit different, I will have like a date and nut bar. And then if I'm hungry in the evening, I might have a snack like rice cakes and cashew butter. That's always one of my favourites. I also make pancakes. So I make pancakes for my son. I really like pancakes as well. And this is a good one. This is chickpea flour. You can also get black bean flour as well, but chickpea flour is great. It's really easy. Just mix it 50-50 with normal flour, or you can, you know, have a higher ratio. And I make vegan pancakes without dairy, so we use coconut milk. And yes, I don't go hungry. I am not an advocate of going hungry and pushing yourself into more of a sympathetic state. I believe in getting plenty of good nutrition, but that is the diet that I'm on. Well, I will love you and leave you. I hope you've enjoyed this update, and I will talk to you again soon. Keep flushing, keep loving your liver. Bye for now.